Hello friends, this video on atoms part 11 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. Please make sure that you have watched all the videos till part 10 before going ahead with part 11. So now that we have studied the line spectra of hydrogen atom, we are good to go with the Bohr model of hydrogen atom, which is extremely important. This model of hydrogen atom, which was given by Bohr, was able to overcome all the limitations which were there in the Rutherford's model. As I mentioned earlier, the main limitation was that Rutherford's model could not explain the atomic spectra, and Bohr's model could successfully do that. So let us look at the postulates of the Bohr's model of hydrogen, which was proposed in 1913. So the first postulate was the electron in the hydrogen atom can move around the nucleus in a circular path of fixed radius and energy. So Rutherford spoke only about the radius. It only spoke about the orbit radius. But now Bohr told that it moves in a circular path of fixed radius as well as fixed energy. So these paths are called orbits or stationary states or allowed energy states. That is where quantization came into picture, because Bohr told that it is not that electrons can move in just any circular path. There are certain allowed energy levels or there are certain allowed orbits on which the electrons can revolve. So these orbits are arranged concentrically around the nucleus, right? The next postulate, he told that the energy of an electron in the orbit does not change with time. Okay, so as long as the electron is moving in one orbit, it will not change with time. But when the electron moves from a lower stationary state to a higher stationary state, when required amount of energy is absorbed by the electron, or energy is emitted when the electron moves from higher energy state to lower energy state. So that is what we were studying so far, right? That gives rise to the spectra. Let us suppose these are the energy levels. N is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if an electron jumps from a lower energy state to higher energy state, that means it will absorb some energy. Now if an electron jumps from a higher energy state to lower energy state, that means it will emit some energy, right? But as long as an electron is there on a particular energy state, there will be no change in energy of the electron with time. So now, and whatever the change of the energy which is involved due to the change of its level, that is given by delta E is equal to R into 1 by N1 square minus 1 by N2 square, right? That is the Rydberg's formula. The frequency of radiation absorbed or emitted when transition occurs between two stationary states that differ in energy by delta E is given by nu is equal to delta E by H. That means, let us suppose this is one energy level which has energy E2. This is another energy level which has energy E1. Now if an electron jumps from this energy level E2 to E1, what is the change of energy involved? Delta E, which is equal to E2 minus E1. So what would be the frequency of radiation which is emitted? So this delta E will be equal to H into nu, where H nu denotes the energy of the photon which is emitted, right? So therefore the frequency of the radiation which is emitted, nu, will be given by delta E by H. So this would be the frequency of the radiation which is absorbed or emitted when an electron moves between two stationary states. The angular momentum of an electron in a given stationary state can be expressed as in this equation. That means, let us suppose the electron is in one state. It is not changing its state. So the angular momentum, the energy of the electron will remain constant, okay? What will be the angular momentum? The angular momentum of the electron, which is given by mass into velocity into the radius of the orbit. Now in this case we are representing the energy level as straight lines, but actually this is how the orbit looks like, right? So what would be the angular momentum of the electron which is revolving in this way? It would be mass into velocity into the radius of the circular path, that is the radius of the orbit. So this angular momentum is integral multiple of h by 2 pi. So this was another postulate of Bohr. Now you might be wondering that from where did he discover this? Now Bohr gave all his postulates depending on based on his observations and his experimental calculations. But later it was found that this expression which was given by Bohr was found to be true even by the quantum mechanical model. It was proved by the quantum mechanical model as well. So these are the important postulates which constitute the Bohr's model of hydrogen atom. So let us quickly review what does Bohr model of hydrogen atom tells. It tells that electron moves in circular orbits, but these orbits are arranged concentrically, and the electrons moving on a particular orbit will have a fixed energy and a fixed radius. So the change in energy will take place only when electron jumps from a higher energy level to a lower energy level, or vice versa. The frequency of whenever electron jumps from lower energy level to higher energy level, it absorbs energy. When it jumps from higher energy level to lower energy level, it emits energy. So the radiation which is emitted, its frequency is given by delta E by H. The angular momentum of an electron, as long as it is in a particular state, is always an integral multiple of the constant H by 2 pi. Right? So these postulates constitutes the Bohr model of hydrogen atom. Now let us discuss the postulates in detail. Now let us talk about Bohr radius, because Bohr's model told that when an electron is in a particular orbit, it will have a fixed radius and a fixed energy. So let us try to find out, or let us try to evaluate an expression for the Bohr radius. Now according to Bohr's postulate, what did we saw? We saw that the angular momentum is equal to integral multiple of nh by 2 pi. Right? Now let us suppose that the radius of the orbit is denoted by r, and the velocity of electron in this orbit is denoted by v. And let us also say that the values of n, this 1, 2, 3, these are the allowed orbits of electrons. Now these allowed orbits of electrons are often denoted by the principal quantum number. Here we will not discuss about quantum numbers in detail, but you will study about the different quantum numbers. I guess you would have studied it in your chemistry lessons, right? You would have heard about principal quantum number, magnetic quantum number, spin quantum number, and all those stuff. So principal quantum number is the one which tells which are the allowed energy levels of the electron. Like as I mentioned, Bohr told that energy is quantized. Electron just cannot move on any circular path. There are certain specific circular orbits which are allowed for the electron. So this principal quantum number, that is this value of n, basically denotes which are the allowed orbits for the electron. Okay, fine. So now from this expression we can write that V is equal to nh divided by 2 pi mr. Let me mark this expression as 1. Now from our concept on electron orbits, we spoke about electron orbits, right? When we were discussing about the Rutherford's model, we spoke about electron orbits and we found out the orbit radius. We found out an expression for orbit radius, right? So that expression was r is equal to ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught mv square. So from this we can say v square is equal to ze square divided by 4 pi epsilon naught mr. Now right now we are talking about hydrogen atom, because Bohr's concept was all about hydrogen atom. Bohr focused only on hydrogen atom, right? So for hydrogen z is equal to 1. So this expression can be written as V is equal to E divided by root over 4 pi epsilon naught Rm. So let me mark this expression as 2. So now if you compare this equation and this equation, you see that the left hand side are the same. Both of them denote the velocity of the electron in a particular orbit. So therefore we can equate the right hand side. So therefore from equation 1 and equation 2, we can say nh divided by 2 pi mr is equal to E divided by root over 4 pi epsilon naught Rm. So from this we can say n square h square divided by pi square m square r square is equal to E square divided by pi epsilon naught Rm. So this m, r, pi will get cancelled. So this square will get cancelled. So from this we get r is equal to n square h square epsilon naught divided by E square pi m. Or we can rearrange it further as n square h square epsilon naught divided by pi m E square. So this expression for the radius of the orbit, for the orbital radius of electron in hydrogen atom, is known as Bohr radius. Because we get a different expression considering hydrogen atom as well as considering the quantization of orbital angular momentum, because here we have considered the fact that the angular momentum of the electron is integral multiple of h by 2 pi, which is a Bohr postulate, and that is why this radius is known as the Bohr radius. Now for the innermost orbit, the value of n is equal to 1, because n is equal to 1 is the lowest possible value of n. So this is the lowest possible allowed energy level, right? So for n is equal to 1, r is equal to h square epsilon naught divided by pi m E square, right? Now let us look at the energy of electron in hydrogen atom. Now again, from the concept of electron orbits, which we discussed during the Rutherford's model, we found out an expression for total energy, right? So what was that total energy? That was equal to minus Z E square divided by 8 pi epsilon naught R, right? Now in case of hydrogen atom, we have to apply Bohr's theory, right? So when we are talking about hydrogen atom, we have to make use of Bohr radius. So in this case, we will put R is equal to the expression for Bohr radius. And what is Bohr radius? It is n square h square epsilon naught divided by pi m E square. So if we put this value, we get total energy is equal to m e to the power 4 divided by 8 n square epsilon naught square h square. So this becomes the total energy of electron in hydrogen atom. Now in this case, if you see, m is the mass of electron, E is the charge on electron, epsilon naught is again a constant, h is again a constant. So if we put the values of each of these constants, which is somewhat like this, m is equal to 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kgs. E, that is charge on an electron, is equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 16 coulombs. Epsilon naught, that is permittivity, which is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12. Again, h, that is Planck's constant, which is 6.67 into 10 to the power minus 34. Now if we put these values here and then calculate, we see that the total energy comes out to be minus 13.6 by n square electron volt. So this comes out to be the value of the total energy. So here also we see that total energy is negative, which shows that the electron is bound to the nucleus. Now at the ground state, that is for n is equal to 1, the energy of electron in a hydrogen atom is 13.6 electron volts. Right, so this was the Bohr's model of hydrogen atom, which was able to overcome some of the limitations of Rutherford's model. However, Bohr's model of atom also had limitation. The first limitation being it is mainly for hydrogen. This became a very major limitation, right? Because Bohr gave this entire theory only for one atom, that is only for hydrogen atom, and there are so many elements. So if something is true only for one element, then it doesn't make much sense. It could not explain the spectra of multi-electron atoms. Like Bohr's theory was successfully able to explain how the atomic spectra is formed in case of hydrogen, but as as other atoms came into picture, they had more number of electrons because hydrogen had only one electron, right? But when we considered other atoms, they had many electrons. Now, it could not explain how the formation of spectrum takes place in multi-electron atoms. In Bohr model, an electron is regarded as a charged particle moving in a well-defined circular orbit about the nucleus. The wave character of the electron is ignored in Bohr's theory. It doesn't follow de Broglie's concept of wave-particle duality of matter. However, Bohr's model was able to overcome the limitation of the atomic spectra, but it still could not talk about the dual nature of radiation and matter. So it always considered the electron as a particle. It never spoke about the wave character of the electron. It could not explain the ability of atoms to form molecules by chemical bonds. It did not speak anything about that. I mean, Bohr's main focus, since Rutherford's model failed, that one of the important reason was that it could not explain the atomic spectra, and atomic spectra was a very important concept. So Bohr's full concentration was only on the atomic spectra part. So he was able to explain the atomic spectra successfully, that too only for hydrogen atom. But since once he explained it for hydrogen atom, it gave an idea to others that how this atomic spectra could have been formed. It contradicts Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. As I mentioned before also, that de Broglie, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, they are all quantum mechanics people. So they all talk about duality. But Bohr's model of atoms still did not talk about duality. So it contradicts Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Zeeman effect could not be explained. What is Zeeman effect? When atomic spectra is subjected to an external magnetic field, there are changes in the spectral lines. Stark effect, the similar thing in presence of external electric field. So Zeeman effect, Stark effect could not be explained. So we are not going to study about Zeeman effect and Stark effect here. You will study it in your higher classes. Right, so here I have listed down several limitations which the Bohr's model of atom also have. But the Bohr's model was a success over Rutherford's model because it was able to overcome one of the most important limitation of Rutherford's model, and that was the atomic spectra. So therefore, since this model was also not able to explain things completely, therefore what was the another model which came up? That was nothing but a quantum mechanical model of atom. So here we will not discuss the quantum mechanical model of atom in detail, but I'll just tell you what gave rise to the quantum mechanical facts. Schrödinger equation described the electron distributions in space and allowed energy levels in atoms in a better way. That also I mentioned, right? De Broglie, Heisenberg, Schrödinger, they are all on the same lines. So Bohr obviously contradicted with them.
Thank you. Please visit examfear.com to watch free educational videos, try free online tests, get the best quality study materials, study from the best tutors and mentors, and much more. Thank you once again.